So once again, we continue from where we left off. We left off at the point where we were implementing the timer function for the hide and seek project. So just to give you a quick recap. So at the timer function, we said that we wanted to implement a timer countdown function where we set our timer to an upper limit to a value of 30 seconds. Then with each iteration, with each control, we would reduce timer by 1 until timer gets to 0. Then we pause the game at that point. So that is what we want to do. So we started with the green flag. So because we said that we wanted to implement the timer function on its own. So what we did was that we started with the green flag, that is a green event, and we set timer to 0, and we set change timer by 1. So let's go and test this functionality. So we go and click on the green flag. Then we realize that timer is set to 30, but nothing happens. So we needed to make the score of timer. So here we needed to change the score of timer by -1 here. So let's go back and click the green flag again. So we realize that timer had reduced by 1, but the reduction doesn't continue, meaning the process is not iterating, meaning it is not happening over and over again, right? So we have to find a control that would make timer, the reduction of timer, continuous. So we would, with each iteration or with each round of reduction, we reduce timer by what? By 1, by a value of 1. I hope you get it right. So if we go again and stop this and click on the green flag again, it resets timer to just 1 at 29, meaning we've reduced timer by what? By 1. So we come to the control. So we'll pause it for now. So we'll come to the control here. Then as we usually do, we will check for which of the blocks can help us implement that function. Now we can decide between forever, repeat 10, and repeat until. But the block that would help us perform this function properly is to use the repeat until block here. So the repeat until block here, we can set in a condition and say, repeat this process, the process of reducing the timer over and over. Repeat it until a certain condition is met. And what is the condition? The condition that timer should be what? Equal to 0. I hope you get it right. So then we would draw this out here. We would select the repeat block here and bring it to the coding area, but we'll put it in between the change timer by -1. Now we would have to find what condition do we set. So we said we want to do that until timer equals 0. So I said that anytime we want to compare 2 objects or 2 values, we need to go to the operators here and look for the equal to operator. So we pick the equal to operator and add it to the space here, right? So now the next thing is like, what are we comparing it to? So we are comparing timer to the value of what? 0. So to do that, we don't write timer. So some of you, I saw you write timer here, right? Here you are just writing a word called timer. When you do that, your code won't run, or that function won't be properly implemented. So when we go back and run this, you realize that timer is just going up and up and up, right? So we don't use, we wouldn't type timer in this section, but we would replace it with what? The variable timer here. We'd rather put the variable timer here. Then we would go in and rerun this. But something interesting happened. You realize that timer started at 30, but quickly got to 0, meaning the process just happened fast. So in order to make it a real-time event, we would add a wait control to it and say, let it wait for 1 second, right? So every 1 second before the reduction happens. So we go and click on the green flag, and this time around, we realize that the second slows down and it doesn't run to completion in a fast manner, right? So meaning we've implemented the timer function now. So we can go ahead and be clicking. So we click in Gobble and we get a sound anytime we click on Gobble. Anytime we click on Gobble, we get a sound. Anytime we click on Gobble, we get a sound. Anytime we click on Gobble, we get a sound. We get a sound. And so as you've seen here, timer has gotten to 0, but our game keeps on running until we press the stop flag here before it stopped, right? So meaning we are done with the timer functionality. So let's move on to the next stage now. So let's go back to our notepad here. So the next thing is the 7th, is to implement a win, so a game over function. So what this function will do is that we will determine whether a user has won or not, depending on maybe the scores. So what we want to say is that at this point, we want to check. So at this point, so once timer gets to 0, meaning we would want to check if the score is greater than 10, then we display the win backdrop, right? So we display the win backdrop here. We will display the win backdrop. Then the reverse backdrop. And the reverse is if the score is less than what, 10, then we display the loose backdrop, right? The loose backdrop, meaning the user has lost. So this is what we are going to do. And we are going to implement this function on its own as well. So to do this, there are various ways we can implement it, but one way we can do this is that we can send a broadcast message and say, when timer equals 0, it should make a general announcement. So just like what we do at school, when it's time for break, the bellboy would come and ring the bell, and everybody knows that it's time for break. So everything ceases, everything stops until break is over before classes happen. So we are going to use that technique to do that implementation. So once timer gets to 0, we are going to let our bellboy, so we go to the event here. So we are going to let our bellboy ring a bell and say, it's time for break, or time is up, right? So we create a broadcast message here and say, and call it timer up, right? Timer up. So we create a new broadcast message and call it timer up. So this will, as I said, this will be like a bellboy ringing the bell to tell us, okay, time is up for break. So everybody should. So then we now bring in another event that receives a broadcast. So we'll say, when I receive timer up, so when I receive timer up, the first thing is to check if score is greater than what? 10. So to do that check, we need an if condition. right? Because we need to determine if the user has won. So we can use an if condition here to check whether the score is greater than 10. And this means that we are comparing two values. We are comparing score with a value, which is 10, right? So I always say to do comparison, we go to the operators section here to get the blocks of code that are associated with operators. So here, we would rather select this operator that checks for greater than. So we bring it here and put it in this input section. Then, because we are comparing score and score is with a variable, we'll go to variable section here and call the score variable and add it to this point. And now edit this and make it 10. Now, what should happen? We are going to say that if score is greater than 10, switch. So to switch to a backdrop, we go to the loop section here and we search for the block or backdrop or game winning. So we call switch to backdrop and we say that game winning backdrop. We can add a sound. So we can add a victory sound to it. Play until done. Yeah. I haven't determined the sound we'll add, but I'm just putting it here so that when we determine it, we would add it later. Then we would, okay, so this is for the winning. So this function checks whether the score is greater than 10, then it switches to the winning backdrop, then we play a sound. So we also do same for the losing backdrop. So we also use an if control here, just like we did for the winning. Then we are going to compare two values. So we go for the lesser, but this time the lesser than operator here, right? Then we add timer because we are going to compare it. Sorry, we add score. We are going to compare it with score. So we add score here. Then we say if score is lesser than 10, right? Then we switch our backdrop. So we go to looks and switch the backdrop to the game losing backdrop, right? To the game losing backdrop here. Then we play a sound. So we go to sound here and play a sound until what? Until done. So we can now go back to sounds here, the sounds tab here, and now select some sounds that we are going to use for winning and what? Losing. So we select the choose a sound icon here, library, to go in and select. But we can also decide to record a sound. So we can click on the record here to record a sound, or just go with the sound that comes with what? Comes with Scratch. So here I would go through and let me see which one should I use for the winning. So let me see if I have something related to winning. So I have triumph and win, right? So I can use triumph for this. Then I'll come back to sound again and I'll see if I can get a lose. So let me see LO. So there is no lose is here. So now we are going to use this lose sound to represent the sound for lose and the triumph sound for a winning sound. So I'll come back to my Gobbo, make sure that I come back to my coding area, make sure that Gobbo is selected because all this function that we are implementing, we are attaching it towards the Gobbo or we are assigning it to Gobbo, right? So now I'll come here and select triumph for this, for the winning. So play sound triumph until done. And when the player loses, I would play what's the lose sound here, right? So let's go back and play the game again. Let's go and test it. So we select, 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 you select, you select, you select. So you see, we are, since we've won, we are presented with a winning background here. But unfortunately, the Gobo is still playing, right? So it's still disappearing and appearing, meaning that, so the Gobo is still appearing and and disappearing, right? And we don't want that. So we want, when this appears, we stop the game entirely and make the Gobo character disappear. So to do that, we put it here because it's part of this whole block. We are going to say, if it resolves to this and it finishes running, it should stop everything, right? So to do that, we go back to the control here and we see a block called stop all, right? Stop all. So we see a block here called stop all here. So we are going to say that if we are in this function, it should stop everything. I hope you get it right. It should stop everything. If it also comes to this function, it should stop what? It should stop everything. I hope you get it right. So we can use this to stop everything. But before it stops, we need to hide Gobble, right? We need to hide Gobble. So to hide Gobble, we go back to the looks here. Then depending on where we are, we just hide Gobble first. We hide Gobble first, then we stop it. If it plays the triumph sound, it should hide Gobble and we stop it, right? Also, if it played a loose sound, it should hide Gobble. It should hide Gobble here, then we stop it. So let's go and run it again. So you see something happen. Interestingly, what is happening here is that the game, I've restarted the game, but it restarted and we still have the what? The winning backdrop here. You understand? The winning backdrop here. Meaning that we haven't set this program to start with the what? With a game backdrop, right? Game backdrop. And it is because we didn't add it to the initial this implementation, right? This implementation that controls the appearance and disappearance of Gobble. So we move back to this function here, right? Then before we start, once we set score, we switch backdrop to what? To the game backdrop. So after setting the score, we switch our backdrop to what? To the gaming backdrop. So now when we go back and click on the green again, it switches the backdrop to what? The gaming backdrop, right? So we can play the game now. So here I won and the game stopped and basically what happens? So you realize that it delayed a bit, right? It delayed a bit before this one, before the Gobble disappeared, right? So what it is because of the playing sound here. So usually the playing sound will play until it's finished before we hide what? We hide this. I hope you get it right. The playing sound will play until it's finished before we hide it. So we can decide once it's switched to this point, it should first hide the Gobble character first, right? So I can take this one off, right? Once we switch the backdrop, it should first hide this one first. Then it plays the sound before it stops the game, right? So same for here. Once we switch to the loose background, hide the character first before displaying what? before playing the sound, then we can stop everything in this function, right? So we go back here. So I'm going to intentionally lose this game. So I'm going to intentionally lose game to see what happens, right? I'm going to intentionally lose this game to see what happens here. Okay. So we realize that, yes. So we have, even though we have hide, we still have this appearing, right? We still have this appearing here. So meaning the hide function is not, the hide function didn't work. I believe is the issue with the stop here. So let's take the stop here and just put it underneath the if here, meaning either of this, when either of this run, it should just stop it, right? Either of these runs, it should just stop it. So let's go back again. This time around, I want to reduce the timer just to make it, to reduce the length of the video. So I click here, I'm using 10 seconds. So I click here, I'm going to click here. I'm going to click here. Yes, so I still have Gobble appearing after the lose, right? So after the lose, it switches to the background. Gobble is still appearing here before we hide it. So yes, before Gobble is hidden. So Gobble still appears, but it doesn't look like Gobble has disappeared, right? It doesn't look like Gobble has disappeared. So let's see, how do we work on it to ensure that once the timer is up, Gobble what disappears. We don't want Gobble to be appearing on the stage, right? We don't want Gobble to be appearing on the stage. We want to hide the Gobble character as we've done here. So let's go back and try it again. Let's go back and try it. Okay. It stops the game, but Gobble is not hidden from us. So yeah, it has stopped the game, but Gobble is not hidden from us, right? It has, yes, it has changed the game, but Gobble is not hidden from us. I hope you get it. Yeah, so I'm thinking either we can add this block to this area to make it, but I really want us to look at the implementation differently, right? How we look at the implementation differently. That way it becomes much easier. It becomes much easier. So because you're not here, I can interact with you. I would have asked maybe, what do you think we can do to make it, to make Gobble disappear, right, upon stop? I hope you get it right. Upon stop, what do we do to make Gobble disappear? So we still want to play the sound. So here we say if score is greater, switch to the winning backdrop. Then we hide Gobble, right? We hide Gobble and we stop the script. We basically want to hide Gobble in this function and we stop the script in its entirety. I hope you get it right. We stop the script in its entirety. So to do that, this is the implementation with it here. And it's not able to hide Google. So that is what I want us to fix. Why it's not hiding Google? Everything looks good here, right? Everything looks good here. Let's play it again and see. Let's play it again and see. Maybe I'm thinking because of the sound, right? So let me take off the sound. Let me take off the sound and let's re-implement it again. Yes, so my guess was right. It was because of the sound, the play until done. So I believe because the sound was not done, that is what is causing the issue. So in this case, let's use just play sound, right? Just play a sound here for the loose. Sorry. It's the sound, right? It's the sound that caused it not to hide. So you see, when we took off the sound, everything worked perfectly, right? When we took off the sound, everything worked perfectly. So now let's just let's replace the play sound until done block with play just sound, right? And here we do the same play sound, but it will be win, right? So it will be triumph. So we delete this block, we delete this block here, right? Then we go back to run this again. We go back to run this again. We go back to run this again. So this time around it worked. I hope you get it right. This time around it worked and we don't have any issue with the block. I hope you get it right. Okay. We don't have any issue with the block. So we can go with this implementation, right? We can go with this implementation. Okay, the next thing we want to do is that maybe you would want to add a text to the backdrop here to show that maybe the person has lost or the person has what won, right? So to do that, we go to the stage, we click this stage area, this stage section here. Then our backdrop appears at the tabs here. So we select backdrop here. Then we make sure that, so we select the winning backdrop, but we make sure that it is on convert to bitmap, right? So once it's there, we select the text. We select this text option here. Then we click anywhere in the backdrop and type you won. You won. Or we say congratulations. So we can do it all caps lock. Congratulations, comma, you won, right? So another trick is that once you are done typing, you can go back and click on the text and it would highlight all the text area with a deep rectangular square, right? So this means that you can enlarge this text feature. When you see that a text section has been highlighted with a deep rectangular square with some deeper dots at the edges, it means that we can use it to resize. So we can enlarge this and reposition the text to where exactly we want it to be. So with this, I have written, congratulations, you have won, you won. So when it comes to the lose or the losing backdrop, it is on convert to bitmap, convert to vector. We don't want that. So we'll change it to convert to bitmap. Then we select the text here. Then we click on it. Then we say, sorry, you lost. So you lost. Yeah, sorry, you lost. So I can reselect this again. Then I would maybe reposition it nicely underneath here. I don't want it to be on the badge. Maybe it will, because of the color, you can't see it well. You lost. So with this, I'm done. So I can come back to my code area, select the global character, then replay the game again. So restart the game. So restarting the game. So we have sorry, you lost. I hope you get it right. And the game stops. Sorry, you lost, and the game would stops. Okay. So we can use this or any, so we can use this as what? As a way of implementing. So let's go back to our notepad here. So reset everything at the start and it already works. So once we click on the green flag, everything is resetted at the start. So meaning that implementation has been taken care of. So with this, we come to an end to our hide and seek game, the part 2 of our hide and seek game. If you have any question, you can reach out to me in the comment section or probably reach out to me personally. Hopefully, we can do more. So thank you and enjoy programming. Bye.